the way you exercise influences how you sleep, how, your mental health is, and how you're going to eat better as well. And the same way, if you're eating better, you're going to sleep better, have more energy to exercise and to perform better at work. So several of our clients had this realization that wellness is holistic, and they pushed us to go into that direction.
Welcome to Financial Freestyle here on Yahoo Finance, and I'm your host, Ross Mack. Now look, guys, no matter where you are in your financial journey, you could always learn more, and that's why I'm talking to some of the most influential people and uncovering their own pathway to becoming financially successful. And today is no different, as I'm interviewing the CEO and co-founder of Wellhub, Cesar Carvalho. Cesar, my man. Thanks so much for joining us. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing great, Ross. Thank you for having me.
I'm loving the color you got on the microphone. You know, great minds think alike. It's
Matching the shirt.
It's a sign that it's starting to get a little warmer outside. But listen, right? Obviously, I did a lot of digging into understanding and uncovering who you are. But to our audience, right? Who is Cesar Carvalho?
Very good. Hello, everyone. I'm a Brazilian living in New York. I've been here for 6 years. And maybe to share a little bit on me, I have always been an active person, an active kid. And when I transitioned into my professional life, I kind of ignored a few important steps of a great life. Like, I was working so hard, hustling so hard, that I lost connection with my friends, with some of my family members. I lost the connection with my own well-being. And that's what inspired me 13 years ago to take a break from my MBA and start a company that would help many other people solve the issues I had when I was a kid. The mission is democratizing access to health and wellness to everyone in every company. And that's how Wellhub came to exist. And this is why I'm so excited 13 years after to talk about the company, talk about myself and about what I like to do.
Well, one, big kudos to you, right? Obviously, you and I share a few similarities and passions, right? I'm trying to democratize access to financial information. And obviously, you're democratizing access to financial well-being. And obviously, right, you started out maybe more so just kind of in the workout phase, but then you kind of expanded it more so holistically. What was the driving factor behind that?
Well, it started with our corporate clients. We mostly go to market via partnerships with companies offering Wellhub to their employees, right? And those clients were pushing for a more complete solution. And in their minds was a right assumption that wellness is holistic, and how you work out, the way you exercise influences how you sleep, how, your mental health is, and how you're going to eat better as well. And the same way, if you're eating better, you're going to sleep better, have more energy to exercise and to perform better at work. So several of our clients had this realization that wellness is holistic, and they pushed us to go into that direction. Once we took the first steps, signed the first pilots, what we saw was a virtual cycle, and users that engaged with more than one type of vertical of wellness, they became way more engaged and got way better results, and they ended up staying with the platform for longer. So then it became a natural extension for what we did, and eventually it led to changing the name of the company to Wellhub, which stands for being the hub for everything related to wellness for every single employee.
I love it. Well, listen, clearly you're an expert in this field, so we got to dispel a few myths, right? Because every time you're an entrepreneur, everybody's like, I sleep when I'm dead, right? How many hours of sleep should a person get? Let's just start there.
Well, it varies from person to person. I normally say that people's wellness journey is like their fingerprint. Everyone has their own, but anyone should target sleeping at least 7 hours every night. And as much as the amount of hours, it's actually important to make sure that sleep is of a good quality. And there are very few tips that are very impactful to helping people sleep better. And we see that across all our partners on this type of vertical. Um, and I'm happy to share a few if it's, if it would be helpful here for the audience.
Well, one, I want you to share this with my 4-year-old who seems to never want to sleep and always come and wake me up. So I might need to borrow you after this. But no, no, no. We could keep going because I am curious, right? Like, one, you didn't just drop out of an MBA program. You dropped out of one of the best, right? That being Harvard. Let's actually talk about that. Like, what was the turning point to make you say, now's the time? Now's the time for me to go full time in my business, as opposed to, let me just stand here, probably stick it out for another year and a half or whatever, right? Like, what was the turning point to make you say, let's go, now's the time?
Yeah. So uh, it started when I needed to decide what was going to invest my summer uh, in between the first and the second year. And my career prior to the MBA was quite a stable one. Like I worked at McKinsey before for 2 years. I did well. McKinsey sponsored my MBA, and I had an offer to go back and work for at least 2 more years doing a similar role as I was doing before. So that allowed me to like really push for that summer internship to be one that I would go for the fences. Like I would try for a home run. I would try something very different than I was used to. And, you know, I did a workshop during the MBA in which I kind of mentalized what was the ideal work environment for me, the one in which I would thrive, the one in which I wouldn't see the time passing by, and etc. And that environment meant I would be working with people I liked, friends that were close to me, and tackling on a challenge that was a difficult one, and hard to get. And I wanted that summer internship to be something that was exactly that. So two other friends of mine got together with me. We all traveled back to Brazil to start our business there. I was doing HBS. My co-founder, one of my co-founders, was working at doing his MBA at MIT, and we went all in with Wellhub. But in the first 2 3 months, it was still the early days. There were no clear signs of success, but I was having so much fun. I was enjoying so much what I was doing, and I was so deeply connected to the mission of getting people to exercise, getting people to be healthy, active, that I said, there's no other thing I should be doing from my life. Harvard was gracious enough to give me up to 5 years to come back if I wanted to still be working on my business. And, eventually the 5 years passed. I never got back because, I'm having the time of my life still.
I love it. Well, maybe we'll get them to let you do the commencement speech, and then you can get like an honorary or whatever. Not that you need it, right? But let's actually kind of go back into those early stages, because I think, the audience that are listening to this, I think they could truly, understand how to take an idea from a concept to actually executing, because I look at good companies as like, 10% good idea, 90% execution. And so let's talk about those early stages and how you started to convince those gyms, those studios, and those corporations to actually partner with you.
For sure. It started with gym studios and wellness apps, right? How to get them to sign to an idea, to a vision. And we didn't have much at the beginning. We just had this dream that every single employee should have access to this. So there was actually a lot of work put on the design of the value proposition for those wellness partners to join in the first place. And one of them was that it needed to be free for them, and they needed to share our success if we were successful, and they couldn't be penalized if we were not, right? So we designed the incentive schemes to make it a no-brainer for them to join the platform. They would get paid every time someone used them, and they would never invest a dime in being part of the platform. And then once we had enough critical mass, a network of partners that was decent for a given city, several neighborhoods, we had a business case of pitching to small and medium companies that had employees in those areas. And that was when we started making those connections and we started spinning the flywheel that led to the business growth. And the flywheel is getting partners to be on the network, having an amazing offering, an amazing plan for employees of companies, then getting the company to invest on a program like this for their employees, getting people to sign up and to use the partners. And then the more partners we have, the easier it was to get more companies to sign up. And the more companies we had, the easier it got to get more employees to sign up and therefore more volume, more payments to our partners. And very early in the journey, we saw that, once we sign a given company of a given industry, let's say we signed a bank in that specific city, it was 10 times easier to sign the other bank of the same industry than to sign a new company in a completely different industry. The reason being that they normally looked at one another to compare, like what are the benefits that are offered to the employees, what are things the employees are liking, and there it was often that employees would shift from one company to the other, and then they would push to get that benefit also in the next company, and that has fueled our growth. First in the same city, then in all cities in a given country, and now we're in 12 countries, still signing new clients in every single one of them.
That's remarkable. I mean, when you look at this, like in order to get to critical mass, I love how you say you started out giving it to free. It's only upside at this point. And there's opportunity also to make money. And as the network expanded, so did more people got on, more partners got on, more clients got on. So that's remarkable. Question, right? How would you say the pandemic shifted kind of your overall business, right? Like obviously, from a mental health standpoint, the world was kind of going crazy, right? Shut down, work from home. But then on top of that, right, there was an emergence of people saying, all right, I'm working from home. Let me work out more, right? You saw people with Pelotons, etc. But just in all, like kind of what was that during the pandemic as well as post-pandemic shift when it comes to overall wellness?
Yeah. In general, the pandemic accelerated a lot of secular trends that we were already seeing in the workplace, in consumer habits, and etc. And a lot of that got maybe accelerated 2 or 3 years. And even though gyms and studios were closed for most of the time there, the need for a wellness service was higher than ever by companies. They were all sending their employees home. Everyone was disengaged. Everyone struggling for mental health and etc. And they couldn't be close to people they loved and etc. So that made our mission even more important to our clients. And our corporate clients challenge us a lot to evolve the product and to make sure we are being close to every single one of their employees. So a few things happened. One, in terms of our network of gyms, studios, etc., there was a push to expand beyond the large metropolitan areas. So we needed to expand to all the suburban areas, rural areas, and that led to a lot of new partners joining our network and a lot of people using those partners. It was not only about the business areas, Manhattan, Midtown, etc., the Loop in Chicago anymore. It was about all the other areas. Our product became way more complete. And then it was about also getting into nutrition, sleep, mindfulness, therapy, all verticals that were really important at that time, and we made sure to include to the clients as well.
That's remarkable. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to talk to Cesar Carvalho and actually help you understand how he built a unicorn company. All right, welcome back to Financial Freestyle. And listen, guys, we have more with Cesar Carvalho, CEO and co-founder of Wellhub, killing the wellness space. And so I actually got to ask you, right, Cesar, what's the secret sauce, right? Because obviously you have other people that are trying to do what you're doing. Some people do it okay. Some people don't do it good at all. But what's your secret sauce in keeping you guys obviously successful and growing?
No, for sure. Like the secret sauce here is helping people change behavior at scale. Because if you're a company with more than 1,000 employees, a solution that works for one employee will never be the perfect one for the other, etc. And While most benefits in our space have 3, 4, 5% of the employees using it every single month, we get to rates on average close to 20%, and in the most engaged clients, close to 40%. And to me, it is about having the right product for every single employee. And in wellness, I normally say it's like the movies industry. Every 1 or 2 years, there's a blockbuster, and everyone goes after it. When I started the company, Pilates was the thing, then CrossFit became the thing, cycling, Peloton was the thing, and now pickleball and racket sports are on the rise. A year from today, another 2 years, like it's going to be a different trend. The benefit is we as a platform have all of them available for our employees. And it costs less. They have flexibility to try a number of things, and they can navigate all these trends without having to cancel nor commit to long-term memberships, which eventually leads to them employees losing money across the board. So uh, having the right product for everyone for less and more options is what gets people engaged, and what in turn helps company dramatically change the behaviors of their employees at scale.
Well, I'm probably the only person that didn't get the memo when it comes to the shift, and my wife is still mad at me because, a few times a week, I'm still playing basketball, and it's to the point where it's like, if I get injured, it's like I can't even tell my wife because it's literally "I told you so. Stop doing that. You're too old to be playing basketball." But I don't know. I gotta figure it out. But listen, Caesar, I'm curious. Let's talk about how AI, right, is shifting, one, the overall personalized wellness space. One, right, how are you guys utilizing it, and kind of what do you think in the next coming years how AI will, even get even bigger in this space?
Yeah, and I think we will be very, very big in this space. And the main reason for me is that if you look at what's luxury in wellness today, luxury is having a wellness coach, to like draft a workout schedule, like a nutrition plan and etc. Luxury is having a personal trainer to exercise with you, to specifically customize workouts. And those one-on-one services are super expensive. Like people can get access to that, but that's a small fraction of the population. And AI will play a key role in democratizing access to all those services, to all that personalization, to every person, and for a very low cost. And like that's where we're investing time and attention. Like we're now using AI to simulate what is the work that all these different people, a nutritionist, a wellness coach, a personal trainer, would have, and they're currently doing that work. And we're using our trainers and etc. to train the AI, but we're making that available to every single employee. We're now finishing our pilot on that with a few users and all of our employees, but it's something we're looking forward to rolling out soon to every single member and every single subscriber. And I think that's just the beginning of the revolution. There will be many more things that are going to be developed by AI and with products with AI that will dramatically lower the cost of everything related to wellness, especially if it's digitally delivered via calls or via video conferences and etc.
What would you say, right, as a CEO of a fast growing company, what are some of your non negotiable health regiments, right? Like how do you maintain and stay healthy?
Look, I'll share then what's right for me, and then I'll comment on like a perspective I wish everyone could take on this matter. But the what works really well for me is putting physical activity first, because once I start my day and I get into all the meetings, all the responsibilities, that will be left behind. So I try to put that first. So every time I wake up, when I'm at home, I have an hour to exercise. I would use one of our partner apps, or I go to a gym or studio nearby and I get my workout done. Once that is checked, I consider the second most important thing to be close to my family. When I'm at home, I prepare breakfast to my kids, I take them to school, and it's my time with them. And they can count on me being there for those two things no matter what, right? So no negotiable for me. I have no meetings between 7:30 a.m. and 8:15 a.m. which are the 45 minutes I need to get them ready to go to school, to talk to them, and be ready to start my work. Once that's done, work, and then I focus completely on my work. And I tend to have a pause midday, normally 30 minutes, either to have lunch or after I already had lunch to meditate. And I stop. It's the time to reground myself and prepare for the second half, the rest of the workday. Doesn't matter what I'm doing when I'm traveling. At 7:30 p.m., I always put a pause on my calendar to reconnect with my wife and kids. I call them every time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Doesn't matter where I am. I might be on the West Coast, in Europe, or in Asia. I will wake up and give them a call, and they expect it. They have that predictable commitment from me as well. The last part is making sure I connect with my dad at least 4 times a week to see how he's doing, etc. We live in different countries, but think I'm closer to him now than I was when we were in the same state, just living in two different cities. But the comment I have, for everyone is that, to get most of it right, you don't need to be waking up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. You don't need to be doing infrared saunas, cold plunges, and going to all the different locations. I think the basics are what you need to get right for an 80%, for receiving 80% of the value or the benefit. And the basics to me are, 120 minutes of physical activity a week, twice a week, you know, sleeping well, 7 hours, trying to eat healthy, and taking some time to reflect and nurture good relationships and healthy relationships with your loved ones. If people get those things right, and they're so basic, so simple, you already cover 80% of the wellness need. And then you can invest time on everything else that's going to make your life more productive and yourself happier.
That's powerful. This was a remarkable episode. I just want to give a big special thanks to Cesar Carvalho, who just really helped open my eyes when it comes to this whole wellness journey. A few things that I didn't know, and probably things that I need to incorporate in my own kind of daily routine. But look, guys, that's it for this episode. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share it with a relative, a neighbor, somebody who used to bully you in kindergarten. I don't care, but just share it with anybody. And once again, we're coming out every Friday. Make sure you like, subscribe, and until next week, have a good one.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.